Welcome Gemini for your monthly horoscope January, for your sun or the ascendant. If you've yet to subscribe to my channel, I'd be honoured if you did so now. Please click or tap on the bell notification symbol on the desktop view of YouTube. This year and month begins with a stunning combination of energy in the part of your horoscope to do with transformations, the 8th house. This is Capricornian energy, and Capricorn is very much about the status quo, but it's also about more conservative vibes to do with business and chipping away towards your goals and ambitions in a steadfast way. But there are some stunning connections as this year begins, which really can help you. And one of the first I want to tell you about, Gemini, is the role of Mars. Mars starts this year in the sign of Scorpio, which for you suggests that for the whole of 2020, you're going to have a lot more energy and drive to focus on the things that are really important to you. But the moon, which is very much to do with the receptive part of your nature, that's in the 10th house of your situation in the sign of Pisces. But it's alongside Neptune. Neptune's very much to do with our imagination, to do with spirituality, to do with sensitivity. And this combination is going to heighten your ability to tune in to whichever environment you experience throughout this month, but also potentially throughout this year. But the midpoint between the moon and the sun in the sign of Capricorn is actually in your sister air sign of Aquarius. And it's alongside Venus, which is very much to do with relating. So I feel that this month and this year is going to give you a wonderful opportunity to reach out to different types of people. And the connections you make or the connections you change and replace through the 8th house energy, which is very much to do with transformation, is going to be the key elements of what you try to do. But as this year begins, so Mercury, your ruler, is alongside Jupiter, the planet of fortune, in your sector of long-term finances. If you are someone who works for yourself or would like to, or you're a more entrepreneurial person and work in an organisation where those skills can flourish, this collection of energy can really see you do marvellously well. Also, these two are forging an alliance with Uranus, which is locked away in the 12th house. Don't underestimate how your past experiences and skills have all built up. And if you access them and link them to a more worldly way of approaching things, Mercury about how you think, Jupiter about your self-belief and desire to learn new things, well, it could be that some kind of innovation at the very start of 2020 can come back to you in a very positive way indeed. But also, Jupiter is quite close to the Sun as this year begins, and the combination between Jupiter and the Sun can be particularly fortunate. Now, I have to be truthful, Jupiter in the sign of Capricorn is in full, so it's not its greatest location, but despite that, if we approach things in a steady, methodical and thorough way when it comes to risk or being more adventurous, then I do feel that Jupiter can still be very positive here. And in this combination with the Sun, suggests that if you are setting those New Year's resolutions, the chances are improving your lot from a physical viewpoint could be a big part of your thinking. But of course, Jupiter can be about philosophy and spirituality, and the 8th house can be about your closest connections. So you could yearn for the type of connection that transforms you at a deeper emotional, sensual even, or even sexual level right throughout 2020. But as we make our way into this year, so Mars moves on the 3rd and it goes into your opposite sign of Sagittarius. So for the rest of this month, it's going to see you a lot more assertive when it comes to your interactions to others, and that's no bad thing, particularly if you need to build up your contact base, tell people about what you want to achieve, or if you're single and there is someone you're attracted to, then finding the strategy to reach out and connect. So Mars in this location for you can be entirely positive. It can also make you a lot more assertive about laying down your boundaries if that's something that you need to do. Now, it is true that Jupiter is also going to be combining with the South Node on the 7th of this month. The South Node is very much to do with where we've come from. The North Node remains for now in the sign of Cancer, which for you is everyday finance. Now, the North Node is going to be inversing back into your sign in May, and that can bring you a great deal of good fortune in the last 2/3 of 2020. But for now, I think Jupiter in this location with the North Node suggests that someone could surprise you with some kind of legacy or reward for your past hard work and investment in a situation. But this brings us to the 12th and the 13th. Because by then, the Sun is very close to Mercury, but equally in the second week of this month, from the 6th through to the 13th, Saturn and Pluto in the sign of Capricorn finally come together in an exact conjunction. Now, they've been nibbling around this for some months. It's just now becoming exact, and on the 12th and the 13th, it is going to forge that alliance with the Sun and Mercury. So what does this mean? Well, I think for you, it's going to give you a penetrating ability to see beneath the surface and understand what does need changing. But because of the annular lunar eclipse, which occurs on the 10th, which is going to provide a backdrop of energy for the following 6 months, it could be around where you feel that you can invest of yourself in a safe and secure way. And if there are any signals suggesting that there are difficulties with this, I think they could be flagged up at this time. Now, some astrologers are obviously seeing this as being quite a fated conjunction, and it can lead to potential changes in the stock market, I feel, with Jupiter in its less positive transit through this part of its journey. But also for you, I just feel it's about understanding the deeper, more psychological side of your nature, because you're so bright and breezy and so adept at adapting to the different people that you flex to get along with. Now life is asking you to be really serious about what is really meaningful for you, where you really put your energy in. And if there is something that isn't working for you, this can be a critical point, because the 8th house can be about endings as much as beginnings. And I can only be honest about this with you. Now, it is true that on the 11th, Uranus, the planet of surprises, does go into direct motion. The last 5 months may have been a bit tough for you, because maybe some subconscious anger has come up at times. It hasn't always been easy to understand the restlessness that you've been feeling. But I do feel, as I say, at the start of this year, old skills or your instinct can feed into that conjunction between Jupiter and Mercury so brilliantly, and can make you lucky if you listen to your hunches. But the 14th sees Venus move into the most worldly part of your scope, joining up, if you remember, with Neptune. And of course, this is where the moon was as this year began. So your hunches around your worldly interaction, your career, and also your ability to get along with people in positions of influence are all boosted by Venus moving into this area. It's followed by Mercury replacing it in the sign of Aquarius on the 17th. Now, Mercury in Aquarius for you is about travel. It's about widening your horizons, higher education. It's very exciting. It's about being more adventurous. And the Sun moves into Aquarius too on the 21st, to be joined by a new moon in Aquarius on the 24th. So there's lots of opportunities to be more expansive once you come through this very deep and psychological set of influences in the first couple of weeks of the month. But it is important to understand that although Mars in your opposite sign of Sagittarius from the 3rd can be so good for you around relationships, if you are trying to cultivate someone influential in the last week of January, just be conscious that Mars is square Neptune. That can create distortion, and it can even kid ourselves about what our true motives are. So if you're doing any kind of presentation or trying to reach out to someone, do be absolutely factual. Don't take shortcuts. Be very realistic about what you're trying to achieve, and you can have a major breakthrough. But if you get too caught up in trying to push things forwards too quickly, it may be that someone feels that in some ways you're trying to use your magic, which is, if you think the magician card is very much to do with your sign, it is to do with being very quick-witted and mercurial. But there are times when it's going to be important to understand the more conservative way of approaching things. And I think that's still going to be to the fore as this month draws to a close. But the potential to be more daring is definitely there as January finishes. If you'd like to know what 2020 will hold for you from a personal viewpoint, beyond your zodiac sign, based on your time, date and place of birth, please see the link beneath this video. You can order your 12-month forecast and get 30% off by clicking that link. But for now, I'd like to wish you a very happy new year, good luck and goodbye.